if you want to grow to $1 million plus appraisal business, you've got to get the first cake right first. You've got to get the perfect prototype. Once you get the perfect prototype, then you can duplicate.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
I was with a good friend of mine, an appraiser, recently, had an opportunity to do a field trip to his office, spend time with his crew at his home base, if you will, in observation and in doing a little coaching and mentoring some advice. And one of the analogies that came to me, and I can't take full credit for it, it was a riff off of the Michael Gerber's E-Myth Revisited, which I know many of you who listen to this program have read, hopefully multiple times. This is a book that I've been preaching for many, many years. I've been reading it for over 15 years. I don't think I've skipped 1 or 2 years in the last 15 years reading this book on an annual basis, because the principles in it are paramount to success as a small business owner. And the E-Myth is basically this idea that because you are a good appraiser, that automatically should encourage you to start an appraisal business, and that will automatically also magically make you a good business owner. And obviously the myth is just not true. They are two very different skill sets. And in that book, Michael Gerber uses the analogy of an individual who owns a pie shop. And she owns a pie shop because she was a great baker who also decided to become a business owner. And as I was meeting with this wonderful business owner recently, we were talking about scaling, because one of his goals is to take his single appraiser office. Now, he's got a crew, but he's the only key employee. He's the only appraiser, the only technician in that business, and to scale it to $1 million plus business. And I know a lot of individuals here have that same goal. And I would not discourage you from that goal. There's something fun, exciting, and rewarding about building $1 million plus business. Take it from someone who has done so. But I've been on both sides of that spectrum. I started out, obviously, as many of us did, as a single person appraiser. And I grew into a multi-appraiser business. At one point, we had 5 separate appraisers working for us, and 27 people, and we were doing multi-millions every year, and it was fun. It came with its own difficulty and challenge, of course, but it was a lot of fun. But as I talked to this individual, I've basically taken this analogy and I have applied it over, and it's kind of grown at this point. And it is what I'm going to call the cake analogy. And I'm going to give that to you in just a moment. First, I want to pause and talk about a software, if you will, a program that will allow you to scale, that will allow you to not just run your business, but will allow you to keep track of your orders and your systems, and will automate so much of what you do that it is mind-blowing how quickly this program pays for itself. Now, the software is a bit on the, I've been told, costly side up front. You might look at the price and get a little sticker shock when it looks, when you see what True Home Tracker costs on my website. But folks, what I'm hearing from those who have purchased is that it pays for itself very quickly because of the way that it allows them to do more business quicker and with ease. If you want more information and watch videos on how this system works, I encourage you to go to my website, TheAppraiserCoach.com, click on products, scroll to the bottom. It's the very last item, and you'll find the True Home Tracker. We're sponsored, of course, by OREP Insurance. OREP is my E&O of choice. Why? Well, first of all, because I have a choice. Second of all, because they are brokers. And third of all, because they offer benefits that no other company offers, including free continued education every single year. It's not use it once and it's gone, folks. I've used it a couple of times, and it's great education, and it counts towards my CE, and it's free because I'm an OREP member. Check them out. Going to their website is the best way to reach out and to find out more at orep.org. Finally, we're sponsored today by TrueTracks. TrueTracks is, well, it's my ability to speed up my process and to help my process to gain traction when it comes to, well, learning the market, defining my neighborhood, supporting my adjustment. That's a big one, right? Supporting my adjustments. Are you doing that, appraisers? Are you supporting your adjustments? Or are you still licking your finger and sticking it in the air? I can tell you that's not going to work for much longer, if it ever did. Folks, if you are interested in a software which will allow you to be able to do more with less, and for so little cost it's laughable, check out TrueTracks. It's found by going to truefootage.tech/tools. Again, truefootage.tech/tools. Before the break, folks, I told you about, sorry about the little bump, little tremor. That's what happens when I bump the camera with my foot. Don't do that, Dustin. It's very distracting. I started to tell you about an analogy that I've been using, and I started this analogy with a friend of mine, a client of mine, where I was able to spend some time in his office and with his crew, and it was a great time. And by the way, I do that for any appraiser who's interested. I will come to you, observe your processes for half a day, and spend hours giving you some feedback and some suggestions on how you can get to whatever goal you're reaching for. And during this process, as we talk about scaling, I used the cake analogy. And the cake analogy basically goes like this. In order to make 5 perfect cakes, you've got to start with 1 prototype. You've got to perfect the first cake first. You've got to find the right ingredients. You've got to find the right blend of ingredients. You've got to find the right process. How hot to heat the oven, how long to leave the cake in, how often to check it, how long to let it sit before you take it out of the pan, how long to let it sit before you frost it. You get the point, right? Baking a cake is not a matter of just looking at a recipe and doing it. It's a matter of perfection. It's a matter of getting it right. And you might make multiple cakes before you get to the one that, that's the one. That's the perfect cake. That's the prototype. Now, once you get to that prototype, the idea is that you don't reinvent a new cake for cake number 2, 3, 4, or 5. You take that prototype and you duplicate it, right? So the analogy in the E-Myth Revisited is McDonald's. And Michael Gerber, the author of the E-Myth, talks about the fact that the McDonald's hamburger is not the best hamburger in town. I don't think anybody within the sound of my voice would say, oh my gosh, that Big Mac is just incredible. I've never had a better burger. I mean, it's okay, right? Every once in a while I crave a Big Mac. It's not very often, maybe once a decade, but I do. And I expect that every single time I go to the McDonald's, no matter which McDonald's I go to, right? Whether it's Moscow, Russia, or Moscow, Idaho, and yes, that does exist. The town that my alma mater for my master's degree is located in, good old Moscow, Idaho. You will get the same Big Mac. It will be not exact. It's going to be different onions, right? Maybe slightly different this slight. It's the same damn thing because the prototype has been perfected and then you duplicate it. So I told my good friend, this client, I said, if you want to grow to $1 million plus appraisal business, you've got to get the first cake right first. You've got to get the perfect prototype. Once you get the perfect prototype, then you can duplicate, right? So once you get it right, for example, with you as this solopreneur, once you get it right, you get the system down with you as an appraiser, you then take note of everything, right? This is called your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, and you get them written down and you get them videoed and you get them in checklists and you get them so they are repeatable over and over and over and over again. By the way, Notebook LM is, in my opinion, the perfect SOP container, right? Because it makes it so easy, FYI, side note. But once you get those SOPs and you can duplicate that cake year after year after year, now, not that it takes that long, right? I'm just saying it's a prototype that you can duplicate. If you choose to stay a single person entity, right, you will be successful year after year as a single person entity. But if you want to grow, what do? You simply duplicate the process. Now, it gets even better because of the principle of scaling. What does that mean, Dustin? Sounds kind of fishy. Sorry, dad joke. Scaling basically means that as you duplicate that process, it becomes cheaper to do so. Well, that doesn't make any sense, Dustin. If you make one cake and it takes a certain amount of sugar and a certain amount of flour and a certain amount of eggs and a certain amount of oil, right, and a certain process, certain cooking time, how in the world could it get cheaper to make 2 cakes, 3 cakes, 4 cakes? Well, this is what we call soft costs, and soft costs change and hopefully reduce as you grow more units. And in this case, more units is more appraisals, more service. So as you add other appraisers, for example, to your appraisal office, you're still following the same process, right? But going back to the cake analogy for just a second, right? One baker can create 3 cakes faster than one baker can create 3 separate cakes. Okay. I know that sounded like the same thing, but when you make all 3 cakes together at the same time, right? You put 3 cups of flour in this one, 3 cups of flour in this one, 3 cups of flour in this one, right? And then move to the sugar and then move to the oil. It makes it more efficient because your bag is already open. Your hand is already on the scoop, right? And it gets even better because whether you're making 5 cakes or 1, you still have to take a trip to the grocery store to buy the flour, to buy the ingredients. And it doesn't matter how many cakes you're making, you still make that trip and it's still the same number of miles, right? And maybe you can put 2 cakes in the oven instead of 1. It's still the same oven, right? So you heat it up once, right? Do you see how this works? As you scale, things get easier and things get cheaper, and it's no different for an appraisal office. Once you get that perfect prototype, that perfect cake made, you simply take that process and duplicate it, but it's better than that. It's not just duplicating the process, it's also scaling. So I'll give you two quick examples. One is on technology, right? It's possible, depending on what software you use, and I encourage you to do this legally, right? It's possible that buying a subscription to your software for one appraiser might be the same cost or a reduced cost for a second appraiser, right? So all of a sudden your costs lower. I'll give you another example. That individual who might be front office, answering the phones, the emails, that kind of thing, might very well be able to scale him or herself to 2 appraisers, 3 appraisers. You don't necessarily need a second assistant for every appraiser that you add. And this is where the soft costs come down and overall your revenue goes up. See how that works? Folks, if you're interested in having me come to your office and do a field trip and help you, not just with the cake analogy, but with everything that you are struggling with as an appraiser, it would be my honor and privilege. I have a little bit more freedom now to travel. And I've been kind of cutting back over the last couple of years as I've raised my last child. He is now out of the house. My wife and I are empty nesters, and I'm on the road a little bit more. Would love to come to your office and help you to scale. If you're interested, reach out to me, the coach at TheAppraiserCoach.com. Thanks for joining me today, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit TheAppraiserCoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.